you today?
I'm fine.
Great. So today I would like to share with you a quote from Plato. The saying goes, arguments, like men, are often pretenders. So this saying implies that arguments use a lot of fallacies. But what is fallacy? Fallacy is taken as a sort of mistake in inferencing or in inferencing, and it is anything that causes an argument to go wrong. So today we are going to talk about the article titled "E-books are a boon for students." And in this article, there are two main fallacies, which are hasty generalization and irrelevant conclusion. So, Mimi, what do you think about hasty generalization?
Yes, as I read through the articles, I find out that the writer used a lot of hasty generalization. But do you know what is hasty generalization?
No.
I'm not sure.
Okay, so what I know about hasty generalization is when you make a claim and say that something is true based on an example or two as the evidence. So how we gonna notice or recognize a hasty generalization in a phrase? So this is the key. The use of absolute words such as always or everyone is the main key and are often to be found in hasty generalization phrases. So I will give you an example on hasty. The example come like this. So Anis was dumped by her first love. So after the incident, she always think that men will dump girl first. So she didn't have any courage to date men because of her past experience. So that is my explanation and example on hasty. Okay, you can continue me.
Yes, great. Thank you, Izazi, for the explanation. So it is also known as overgeneralization. So it is basically when you generalize something based on insufficient evidence. So in this article, if you can see in the sixth paragraph, the writer said that nowadays, youth, especially students of higher education, seem to have lost interest in reading books or articles. So this statement is a hasty generalization. Why? Because the writer claimed that the university students are not into reading books without a clear evidence and facts. We can say that not every students are like that because some of us are really into reading books, right? And they make it as a hobby. So this information is not valid and cannot be applied.
Yes.
Also, the writer continues the statement when she stated that they think it is boring and afraid of being labeled as bookworms if they are seen holding books. They only read books to pass examination. These two sentences are also a hasty generalization. The writer simply concludes that students feel bored reading books and only reading books just to pass their examination, which is totally untrue. For example, just imagine if someone says something like that to you, you feel offended, right? Especially if you are a book, you will totally against it. That is why it is a hasty generalization. We jump into a conclusion too quickly without looking at another examples. And I think there's a lot of more of hasty generalization in the article. Can you guys share some of it?
I also want to share a few examples of hasty generalizations. Hasty generalizations may also be called as converse accident. And in paragraph 12, It said that it is very comfortable being on campus, especially when teaching and learning process has to be conducted via open and distance learning, ODL. So in this paragraph, the hasty generalization is that how do you know that students are very comfortable being on campus? They might as well be more comfortable being in their homes rather than the classes.
Yes.
And in the next paragraph, the provision of high-speed internet should be used correctly and not only to go on social media or to watch uneducational videos. This is also a form of hasty generalization because not ev- not only that we stay on our phone not every time, but
Yes.
we don't actually watch uneducational videos 24/7, right? I mean, we
Yes.
also
Yes.
use internet to learn, to read books, and
Access
other
e-clip.
things.
Guys, I will continue on three other example of hasty generalization. So in this article, in paragraph 17, the writer said that with this facility, they can read the ebooks leisurely regardless of where they are. So this is hasty generalization because nowadays not everyone uses ebooks in their reference in studies, right?
Yes.
And they rarely
Yes.
in their leisure time, which means they might be watching television in their leisure time but not reading. Okay, so my next example is in paragraph 18. The writer mentioned that while students are now allowed to go home, the access to this remains the same. They just need an internet connection. So this is hasty generalization because the writer assumed that everyone only access the internet. But how about some students that have poor internet connection? So my last example is in paragraph 15. It is hoped that during this period, students of higher education will develop an interest in reading. The author only mentioned students with higher education will have the interest in reading. How about the students with lower education? Does that mean that they don't have any interest in reading? So the three example that I found in this article uh, come up with hasty generalization. So that's all I think.
Uh, okay. Yes. You correct. You are correct, Izazi. So now, I think three of you have explained hasty generalization policy. Um,
Yes.
well, so now I'm going to continue with another policy, which is irrelevant conclusion policy. So based on the paragraph 10, line 16, the students should be thankful because their universities are concerned about their safety and welfare. So the sentence shows an irrelevant conclusion policy, or it is also known as missing the point policy. So, what is irrelevant conclusion policy? Irrelevant conclusion policy is happen when the conclusion does not follow its premise. So, when we look at the line 16, it seems to be likely drawing conclusion that do not follow from the previous information. So, based on the paragraph 9, line 14, with the movement control order MCO, students had been on campus and were only recently allowed permission to go home. So, if you look between paragraph 9 and also paragraph 10, there is no relation between those paragraphs. It seems both paragraphs does not relate at all. So, it fails to address the issue in question. So, rather than you said that students should be more thankful, line 16 should have explained more on the MCO, or it should explain more on why students are allowed to go home. It should not divert the attention of the readers to the universities instead. So here, the policy is committed when an argument purporting to establish a particular conclusion and directed at proving a different conclusion. So you guys understand?
Yes.
Yes.
So meaning that missing the point is in the irrelevant conclusion?
Yes, they both are the same fallacy.
Oh.
So do you guys have understand my explanation just now? So I think it is time for us to conclude this discussion. So when we look at the article, hasty generalization fallacy is a commonly used fallacy in this article. So we should at all cost avoid using fallacy in our argument. Why? Because it will undermine the logic of our argument. The argument can fall apart due to a faulty connection making. So you will make your writing lose its credibility. How we can overcome this? We need to be more attentive to logical fallacies when produce our own writing so that we can build a more compelling arguments. Okay, so I think that's all for our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.